It'll turn on, yeah. All right, I'll give our final alum time to literally run on the stage. He's coming straight from Cupertino from Apple, so we definitely appreciate his time. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jocelyn Fay. I am one of the career services advisors on the career services team, and I'm also work in admissions. I'm also that person that's been sending you all of those emails, all those admit emails. So I'm sure I'm a familiar name, so you can match the email to myself. So I kind of in contrast to Julie, I am actually a Bay Area native. I was born and raised here, and I've probably spent the past 7 or 8 years working in higher education, specifically with students in technical and engineering backgrounds. And then I've been with the MEng program for about almost 3 years or so. I love the energy that engineers bring, and I love kind of being in this environment. So I'm here to moderate the conversation today. So I will if I would have actually the panelists introduce yourselves, and when our final one comes in, I'll have him introduce yourself as well. And I'll just start off with a couple of questions for the panel, and I'll open it up to the audience for Q&A. So plenty of time to ask questions to the panel. So Justin, why don't you start?
Okay, all right. My name is Justin. I am originally from Southern California, Anaheim, Orange County. I went out to the East Coast to Boston University to do my undergrad in biomedical engineering. While I was there, I had a concentration in what we call technology innovation, which was essentially their intersection of business with engineering, so very closely aligned with what I've been learning here as a current student now in the bioengineering department. And so I think that's a pretty good summary, maybe.
Yeah. And why don't you tell the group a little bit about your capstone project?
Right, okay. So my capstone project, the title is Commercializing Nanocarriers for Neurological Disease. Our project is focused actually more on the business side. So while a lot of the projects are in the lab doing wet lab work or mixing the chemicals or designing, building, our job is to actually take a technology that's almost complete and to start the process of commercialization. How do we actually bring that to market to have an impact on society? And so we're looking at things like scale-up manufacturing, FDA regulation, partnerships, funding, a lot of different aspects of that whole, translational process. For those who are unfamiliar with nanocarriers, it's essentially a little molecular shell that can carry drug molecules within them. So you could target certain places within your body, and treat certain conditions in a much more safe way than, say, blasting the body with chemotherapy. So that's my capstone project.
Great. Portia, a little bit about your background.
So, is this on?
Yeah, just start talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Portia. I'm from Hong Kong. I came to the States for college. I went to BU for 3 semesters, then I went to NYU, graduated in mathematics and economics. And then I came here straight after I graduated from NYU for the IEOL MEng program, and I really enjoyed it. Graduated in 2015, and currently I'm working in customer marketing group as a data analyst. It's a consulting firm that helps consumer packaged goods companies to make better decisions in terms of pricing, distribution, as well as promotions. So there's a lot of optimization involved, and I'm really enjoying my work right now. Do you have to talk about my capstone?
Yeah, your capstone.
Okay. You sound louder than me. Do you guys hear me?
There he is.
Okay, so for my capstone project, it's called Vehicle Data Science. Vehicle Data Science is actually a company, a startup company at the time. So what we were trying to do... Oh, it was muted. Okay, so Vehicle Data Science was a startup. No, I'm too loud. So what we did was we were hoping to build a scoring system for drivers. So then it will evaluate the driver's behavior, and the drivers can take this score to shop around insurance companies for a better quote for their car insurance. So basically, we were doing a lot of data analytics, and we're trying to come up with a scoring system. This is a very brief description.
Yakshu, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. Just been driving from South Bay, got stuck in traffic.
Yeah. So, Yakshu, why don't you introduce yourself? Where you went, kind of originally where you're from, where you went to undergrad, and what you currently do.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Yakshu. I'm a MN Alumni Product Design 2015. I'm originally from India. I did my undergrad from India, worked there in an automotive company for a couple of years, then decided to pursue a different route from operations to design and development. Chose this program, gained a lot of intercultural leadership, product development, product management, and product design skills here. Found a job at Apple. I'm currently working as a technical program manager on audio products. I couldn't say audio products before because AirPods was the first audio product Apple launched. So I worked on AirPods. That was the team I was hired for. And now we're working on similar line of products. Thank you.
And will you talk a little bit about your capstone project while
Sure.
you're here?
I worked with Professor Alice Agogino on tensor-degree robots. There are two forms of tensor-degree robots. It's just like a sphere one and a spine one. The whole goal of the capstone project was to make a robot that can maneuver on a surface like that of any planet that has a rough terrain, where rovers cannot work. So we were trying to design a robot that has flexible core, which can bend like a human spine, has twisting motion, bending motion. So we worked on the first prototype of developing that spine robot, just getting basic functionality of moving around in X, Y, and Z.
Great. This audience is new admits and kind of deciding in between different programs and if MEng is the right fit for them. For you personally, this goes for everyone, why did you pick Berkeley MEng over other graduate programs? So why don't you start with Justin?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of jumped into graduate applications not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do. So that meant that I applied to everything. So PhDs, MSs, MEng, MTMs, I was applying to a huge range of programs all over the country. And I was trying to consider, okay, well, I have all these different things, and Berkeley actually wasn't on my radar up until kind of the last month before I had to make the decision, because I realized first of all, the Berkeley name, and I've talked to some of you about this, the Berkeley name itself is huge, and to be able to put that behind you in a year's time, which I think far surpasses the 6 years of a PhD. But again, it's your own interest and what you're looking for. That was my personal preference. Was a big pull for me. On top of having that, I mentioned the concentration I studied at BU with the business and engineering. This is kind of what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to hone my skills beyond just the technical things that I learned at BU, and so those are kind of the big draws for me coming here to Berkeley.
So for me, I spent 4 years studying mathematics, and I spent 4 years, 9 to 5 in the library, just studying. I was very nerdy when I was in New York. But then after coming here, I figured there's a lot more social life to it, and I've learned I've met so many more cool people, including Yakshu, I just had a lot of fun. And the reason why I decided on this was basically solely on visit day. I came here without any expectation and figured that this program not only gives a lot of career support, whether it's Joycelyn and Julie, and there's also a lot of opportunities to meet people in the industry, and this program has a lot of connection with the industry as well. So just to let you know, I also got an offer from Columbia IEOR program as well as Cornell IEOR program. If you got acceptance from those programs as well, I would say that they're really, really big programs. Resources are probably not going to be as concentrated on you, or you're probably not going to get as much help as you are in the Berkeley MEng program. So I guess I can say that right.
Yeah, I think from what Portia said, the two main deciding factors for me were the mix of program management, product management, and technical skills that I was, sorry, it's a word call. That was
it's on the clock.
The program management and technical skills I was trying to hone. I worked in operations and it was mostly just factory experience. I wanted to get on the design side to cover whole of the product lifecycle. That was one reason, and at the same time, I still wanted to hone my product management skills. So I think this program offered both of them, and it's not that you were compromising it on the one side at the other. It's just that it's a great package, and you try or you get an opportunity to implement and practice those skills when you're working on the capstone. So that team model you might have seen on the website might have been like you've seen it across all when Jocelyn or Julie are talking, but it actually is a great model. And I think the way it develops you as an individual for a career in program management or engineering is great, where you're developing both the horizontals together and you get a chance to practice them on a capstone project real time. And most of the times these capstone projects are with an industry partner, so you actually get to see the commercial part of the side, of the business. The other factor that strongly pushed me like for Berkeley program was the geographical location. You are in center of the technology hub of not just America, of the world. All big companies who are looking for great talent are here within like 50, 60 miles of radius. And I think that gives you a lot of advantage over being in Austin, Texas, New York, or anywhere else. So, and Berkeley as a whole is a great brand. I don't know like what like among the top 50 companies you can think of from technology standpoint. I don't think there's like any that doesn't come to Berkeley for recruitment, or there's any that won't have any kind of event in the Berkeley throughout the year. So it just gives you so much of exposure to talk to these guys who are working in the industry, and that brand itself that like Berkeley puts with you or the MS degree puts with you, I think is great.
Great. You touched a little bit upon, and this is for the alums on the panel, a little bit about on the capstone project and how that kind of aided you in, kind of either finding jobs or, kind of the way that you look at work now. In your opinion, how has the capstone project experience helped you in your current, either in your job search while you were a student or in your current job role right now?
Sure. Tina, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I can go first. So, like I said, I work with a startup, and to me, my capstone project is basically like an internship to me. I spend half of my time working in the capstone, and then half of my time doing schoolwork. So, one of the biggest things that I learned in my capstone project is to actually explain technical knowledge to people who are not in my who do not have my technical background. So the person who managed the capstone project in vehicle data science has actually a business background. So he does not really have like strong data analytics, data scientist background. So then every week we'll go in with our methodology, we'll have to explain it, and then talk about the next steps, implication, and stuff like that. So that really helps me when I'm looking for a job, because I have to do the same thing, explain my capstone project or projects that I did in my undergrad to interviewers. At the same time, for my current job as a consultant, you have to be able to explain the methodology on how you calculated the answer or solution.
I think like when you're working on a project in undergrad, it's more of you just doing a self-centered or like one problem that you're responsible to solve or put together a solution or a report for. When you go to the industry, it's not the same. You work with cross-functional teams, you work with a larger group to address a bigger problem which has different aspects associated with it, technical part, cost, quality. And I think the capstone project here simulates that environment and preps you in a way that makes you ready for the industry work. You'll be grouped together with people from different majors, different backgrounds. There'll be different aspects of the project, and you'll also get time to lead the project as a program manager or product manager, where you'll be bringing all the different pieces of the product being driven by different people from different majors and driving them all together to a common goal. So I think in a way it is prepping you to the industry environment. The kind of challenges or that you'll see when you go there is how you can work together in a team, how you can resolve like whenever they're like people are not coming to a conclusion, how you can still drive the project, drive a team together. And The other part I think you learn here is how to articulate your ideas to the whole group and that of the whole team to a broader audience. There'll be times you'll be going through sessions of like just putting together the progress of the project and just delivering a note to somebody who has no idea what you're working on, and you have like probably 15 minutes to deliver that message. And I think that's one big lesson I have learned personally and till date in my 1.5 years of like association at Apple. In my second week at work, I was just told to present a problem to senior VP at Apple, and I had no idea like why I'm the one like who has been put into this position. But I think it's a general culture in Silicon Valley that there's no hierarchy level scene. If you're working on a problem, you're responsible for it, irrespective of if it is Tim Cook or Jeff Williams or whosoever. If there's an update required, you are the one who's going to present. So knowing that art of delivering the right message and articulating in the right way is really important that you learn from the capstone.
Great. Talking a little bit about the resources available at Berkeley, what type of resources did you take advantage of while you're here? I'm going to start with Justin.
Great. So Julie mentioned earlier that I'm one of the career representatives, and so that's definitely one of the first opportunities that I took when I opened, and it has definitely helped as far as my own personal connections and job and career growth, because I'm helping to be the liaison between my peers, the career services team, and then employers in general. And so it's been really cool to sit in on meetings where the Fung Institute wants to partner with Grifols, and we meet, and I get to be there and say, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You know, I'm Justin, I'm a current student here, and actually I had that connection much earlier than any of my peers would have had at info sessions or tours that we set up later on. So that's definitely a really cool opportunity that I took that I would definitely recommend. Sorry, my nose is a little stuffy. But I think another big opportunity that I took advantage of was the info sessions that were set up, because while there are Berkeley in general info sessions where companies come in and give a talk, or student groups here will set that up, there are Fung Institute specific info sessions. And so that's a really neat way to get a more personal kind of atmosphere when you're talking to these potential employers. And at these info sessions, we were talking like maybe 15 to 20 people of the MEng cohort being there. And so you really get a chance to go up and ask the questions that you want to make that personal connection, get connected on LinkedIn. And I think oftentimes they bring an HR person with the engineers that are working on the ground floor. And so it's a really neat way to kind of get a more inside scoop into potential companies that you want to work for.
So for me, I took advantage of all of the alumni events as well as what's the breakfast called?
Employer breakfast.
Employer breakfast. I didn't just eat. I went to talk to people. So those are like just within the MEng network. So those are really helpful. I've met a lot of alums while I was a student here, and they could refer me to people who was working at companies that I'm interested in and that they think I'm a good fit on. Or a lot of the alums would look through my resume and give me comments and everything. So that's really helpful. Employer breakfast as well. So it's also solely for MEng, and you get to have a little bit more of a private conversation, and that's where you should take advantage to show off yourself, because it's early in the morning, it's before they go to the career fair and get all tired out talking to like 1 billion people. So that's where you should like go in and talk to people.
I think for me, the first contact window for help, or the biggest resource I have benefited from, has been like just talking to Julie, Jocelyn, Joy, and then like, because they have a pretty open door policy. Whenever you have an issue with where you feel things are not working out, just go up to them, like say, hey, I've been applying to jobs, like things don't seem to be working. They give a very constructive feedback. So I think that's one great resource I've been able to benefit from. Other than that, online job applications never seem to work for me, but like attending career fairs here, info sessions where you get a lot of face time with people who are actually recruiting, has seemed to work. And I think that's a great advantage of just being in the Berkeley, as I said before. Other than that, there are times when these companies, or for example, like Steve Wozniak would be here just giving a talk. he's not here to actually recruit, but he's just there to talk. But in the meantime, you get to interact with all these like great industry leaders, like, and you learn like what kind of stuff is happening in the industry, what kind of mindset these guys have, what kind of people they're looking for. Just helps you develop overall and prepares you really well to get to the industry, and what kind of outlook you need to have, or what kind of resume you need to have in order to like crack these interviews or find a great job. So I think it'll always be a time constraint, not the opportunity constraint here. Opportunities will always be there. There'll be always be something happening or the other. It'll come down to that you have limited set of time, what you prioritize over the other. But like, it's super resourceful just to be here from job hunting standpoint, or just getting different kind of knowledge. Other thing I would want to mention is I personally didn't get a chance to explore, but Berkeley has a huge cultural diversity, and there's a lot to explore from cultural standpoint. If you're staying in iHouse, they have their own events, which is just to promote intercultural leadership and diversity. And it totally depends like what you're prioritizing, but I think that's one area, and which is super resourceful. If you have any kind of interest in exploring one of the cultural aspects, that's a great place to be.
Thank you. So one more question before we open it up to the audience Q&A. And this probably goes to the alums. How is your career progression different having gone through the program, and the fact that you've been 2 years out, been able to kind of take perspective of the experience and now working in industry?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot that, I definitely didn't imagine. If I put back like 2014, April, when I got my offer, I had no idea I would be sitting here talking about all this, representing an alumni from Berkeley and working at Apple. I think just that 1 year, working with people who are really sharp, technically really sharp, and have great skills, just internally like gives you a great confidence. And I think my capstone project overall just prepared me really well for the industry, especially a company like Apple, for a program manager role in specific, because we face technical problems which are very, very unique, and you're not the only individual just working on that. You need to bring that aspect of teamwork and leadership together to deliver solutions. So I think that overall learning of like how to work in a team and still deliver something in a set time frame, and there would be constraints of time. There would be constraints of like you have to do other parts of the project, other homework and other assignments, but you have to still keep the pace of the capstone. I think it simulates a real life situation where you have to maintain your personal life with work life, and that has like helped me a lot. And I don't think without those 9 months it would have been possible that I spent here at Berkeley.
As for me, I think there are 3 things. First of all, is professional communication. I've learned a lot through my recruiting process, how to send professional emails and stuff like that. Second of all is technical communication, which is very important. I think I learned most of it from the MEng program, where you have to present your capstone and pitch about your capstone like 50 times in a semester. So that really helped. And lastly, I think time management. I think I've gotten a lot better in time management in terms of what I should be prioritizing. And at the same time, it helps me to understand, like, I think everybody has a mood. It's like, I know I have to be doing this, but then I don't feel like doing this. So then what do you do in this moment? Do you just, go out for a walk and you'll feel better? So that's like the whole year in MEng, it makes me feel like I know myself better in terms of like what's the best option for me when it comes to situations that's like what I just said, like I have to be doing something, but I don't feel like doing something.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So we're going to open it up to audience Q&A, so feel free to ask questions for the student alumni panel and Julie and myself. No
Anyone
questions.
still awake?
No questions?
All right. Let's see how we get it. I know that it really depends on the different industries, but I wanted to know, when did you guys start looking for a job, and when did you start applying, and when did you start having interviews, all that process? How did it really go for you?
I think earlier you start is better. If companies are coming on campus, they know you won't be graduating anytime soon. So they come with a mindset that if they're recruiting you today, they're recruiting you for something that's now plus 10 months or now plus 1 year. Mm-hmm. So earlier you start is always better. I think I started applying for jobs soon after the first module of leadership was complete at the end of August. And I started getting interview calls in October, but I think I was not really prepared to interview with companies like Apple. I was slammed in my first interview I had with Apple in October. And so I think as long as you think you're ready to go and like sell your skills, you have enough stuff on the resume that you can back off, and you have enough knowledge to face those technical interviews, it's good. Going unprepared definitely just puts you in the negative spot, because you never know, like maybe you might have had a better chance to interview with the same team, same company at a future point. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're ready, I think it's earlier to start is better.
I would also recommend to start as early as possible. I started pretty early, first semester, and then I think the first interview that I got was with Deloitte. Of course, I didn't do well. And then my trick is that I applied to a lot of places, and because I came straight out from undergrad and I have no idea what I want to do. So I started early, decided to start early so I can go into the like recruiting field to see what kind of position I am interested in, what kind of position is suitable for me, what kind of questions do they ask. So I went to a lot of interviews, and I screwed up a lot of interviews as well. On the point where you said, as long as you're ready, then you should start. I think like for me, I didn't get ready until I interviewed with like 10 or 15 companies. So I would say like practice as much as you can. Don't get selective at first. Exactly. because when you go into an interview, you always walk out knowing that, oh, maybe I didn't do well on this, and maybe I should study a little bit more on this area, whether it's technical area or behavioral area. And what I did was I jotted down all of the questions that I got stuck on. And then every time I get a new interview, I go through them and make sure that I don't make the same mistakes. And now that when I am an interviewer for my company, I get to ask those questions as well. So it makes you a really good interviewer as well, because if you have gone through all those interviews. And I joined my company for like 6 months, and then I started interviewing for my company because of those experience.
Maybe you should publish a book, Top 100 for IU interviews.
For me, I kind of came into this program knowing, at least for the bioengineering department, that we tend to get hired in second semester, right? So I devoted first semester to overloading on credits so that I could really concentrate on it second semester. So the jobs that I did apply to first semester tended to be kind of above my pay grade, just in case. If I could land something that was better than what I was qualified for, I'd take it. Like that'd be amazing. And so that was kind of my game plan coming in. So started second semester is when I really earnestly started applying to the jobs that I fit and really trying to find the jobs. I've had a couple interviews with Thermo Fisher Scientific and with Alumni, and we'll see how they go. But I think I mentioned this to a couple of you last night. The most exciting opportunity that I have right now is the capstone project that I mentioned that I'm working on right now, commercializing tech. Actually, we are considering forming a startup when we graduate in May. And so it's possible that I might be self-employed following graduation. And of course, I'm trying to keep my options open, so I'm applying to other jobs as well. But the fact that I might be able to take that forward and form my own company is just mind-boggling. It's crazy that I have this opportunity after a year of being here. And so I'd love to talk about that opportunity more with you guys afterwards if you guys want.
So how was it that any of you guys chose your career path? Did it have anything to do with, the coursework you were doing or your capstone project? Or are you pretty open-minded to everything you were applying to, anything and everything? Curious.
Yeah, I think when I came in with a pretty open approach that I worked in an automotive company, and there came a stagnation point that I stopped liking it. So I came with a mindset, I will work in any industry except for automotive. So, and I was slightly bent towards consumer electronics because the pace at which it is growing is amazing and tremendous, and that amount of time it takes or for this industry to spin a new product is pretty fast. So that was the initial mindset, and I think once I started taking courses here, like critical making and a couple of program management classes, working on my capstone, I kind of realized that I really enjoy working on the technology and also doing the program management side of it. And my current role is actually a combination of that. It's just in the name of the role itself, technical program manager. So we work on the technical aspect of the product development, and at the same time, we are managing the overall cycle of development, like starting from proto phase till it comes to the market. So to your question, I think it'll depend on, like, if you've worked in industry before, that kind of sets some kind of notion. If you're coming fresh, I think it's pretty open for you that you're coming to explore whole new era, like what all opportunities exist. Oh, I want to talk to these employers. I want to talk to people who are already working in the companies. And I think a lot of times you'll realize that you'll see somebody's work in a company, or just find somebody on LinkedIn, look at their profile, and you'll realize I want to be that person. So that communication or socializing here or in networking here will help a lot in that aspect.
Nice. Oh. Do you want to hear my answer? For me, I came into the program wanting to contribute to the data analytics world, regardless of industry. Not regardless of industry. I don't want to go into the finance industry. I'm sorry. But then, because if I want to go into the finance industry, I would have stayed in New York. So I want to do something other than finance, and I want to help businesses make better decisions using data analytics, and that's the phrase I use in my elevator pitch as well. And there are lots to explore here. I was like super mind blown on when I came here, and I figured like data analytics can be applied everywhere. You know, Facebook, there's like Google data, there's Uber data and stuff like that, and you can use it to understand what consumers does, or to understand how businesses are doing and stuff like that. So I just want to use those techniques. So that's exactly what I'm doing in my job right now, which I'm enjoying a lot. And ultimately, in terms of like career path, I thought that I would be an analyst for a couple of years, and then I would like to become a project manager and have a project that I'm very close with, or a client that I'm very close with. And this is what I'm progressing right now in my job as well. So these are like very high-level goals that I have, but then ultimately it kind of just like narrowed it down, and it's happening for me.
Go ahead. You're good.
Your turn.
I have a question for Yakshu, having come from industry to Berkeley and then back into industry.
Mm-hmm.
Setting aside technical classes, looking back, are there things that you have gotten out of your Berkeley experience that you feel you could not have gotten in industry, particularly that have helped you in your career post-Berkeley?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think when I started my career, I was fresh from undergrad. I didn't know how different aspects of industry, engineering, operations, design, development work together. So you're in a mindset where you want to just grab whatever opportunity you have at hand just to get a feel of it. And I think in initial phase, I loved what I was doing because it was the first time, but over time I realized this is probably not something I want to do in long term. So it just helped me figure out, my first job helped me figure out what I want to do in long term. Then I chose a master's program that would help me head properly in that direction, or would at least create a path to get to where my final goal is. the things I think Berkeley helped me in figuring out was from my notion from first job, I had like, this is something I want to do. Berkeley helped me practice that before I actually go to the industry for the second time. So I think this program simulated that industry environment for me. And the good part was here, nothing is at stake. Like if you don't like program, it's not associated with the commercial part. So if you don't like, a project, there and you work on it for a week, there are definitely opportunities you can walk to a different professor. Hey, I think I relate closely myself or my work or my interest with the other project. Can I move over? So there's some kind of flexibility for you to explore more. And on the other side, what you can do is just take a different course altogether, which allows you to do a whole different kind of project or capstone. So there's some kind of shopping you can do in Berkeley before you decide that what I want to do is actually the real thing, or will I actually enjoy it, versus just jumping onto the industry. And this program helps you navigate well.
Talking about kind of the shopping aspect or being able to kind of customize your experience, have you guys learned about how the capstone selection process works a bit? Yeah, so I found it pretty neat.
Yep.
Being able to go up to a person and be like, tell me about your project, what's it like? What are we going to do? What are we going to accomplish? What are we going to learn? And being able well, I don't know if I want to do this, or I don't know if it really aligns with my interests, or this really does align. And so there's a huge range of different types of projects, and you're bound to find multiple projects that you're interested in.
I 100% agree on that. I think when it's more like a fair where different professors would be telling you, showcasing what their project has to offer, what you'll learn, what they expect from you. It really helps you connect if this is something you would want to do or not. This is not something you'll see in industry. Your manager is not going to say, hey, there are 6 projects on the table, choose which one you want to choose from. He's just going to say, this is the one you're working on, you like it or you don't like it, this is what you're doing. So,
I have a question for Portia. So you mentioned you were straight out of your undergrad institute to Berkeley. So has no work experience during your undergrad and grad anyway affected your interviews when you gave for industries?
So I think the way it affected my interviews is that I've never been to any interviews before. The project that I did when I was an undergrad and my capstone project has always been treated as my capstone project has always been treated as an internship. But then undergrad projects more on the academic side. So I wouldn't say that it really did affect me that much. But then I think if you don't have if you don't have any job experience, it would be great if you can find a capstone project that is close to the industry, so you can pitch yourself that way. Yeah.
How active are the MEng alumni in helping current students find jobs? Are there databases where we can find people at companies we're interested in to contact them, ask them for a referral, or do they come to campus at all?
So I think the management here for the program does a really good job in organizing variety of events where you get a platform to interact with the alumni. There are alumni happy hours. There are other socializing events where you'll get to interact with them. And I think it's not just about just getting referrals or interaction. I think one good thing that these events help with is just knowing what kind of stuff people are doing, and is that something you want to do. Then knowing their story, how they got there, and are you on the same path? If not, what do you need to change to get to that path? And I think then the referrals part, or just them helping you connect with the right person in the industry who's hiring is secondary. But I think the focus should always be on the first part, because that's what would lead to the second. It'll be, just try simulating an environment where you just walk up to a person and say, hey, can you just refer me in this company because I'm from Berkeley and I'm an alumni. It's great. It adds credibility that you're from the same program. They can connect well. But I think unless you try knowing what they're doing right now and how your work experience or what you are studying aligns with that, I think the real focus should be on that thing. And once that is clear, I have personally helped a couple of people to get interviews at Apple because I really thought what they're doing aligns with what companies looking for. And there have been other scenarios as well where I feel like somebody is looking to find a job which doesn't actually align with what's there on the resume.
This semester we had the Alumni Happy Hour, which was at the Microsoft Reactor in San Francisco, which is a really cool space. And it was just a really neat time to just have a bunch of alumni come, have a bunch of us come, and just chat. If you wanted to network, absolutely, you do that. But also just learning that experience that they had. Kind of funny, because I was applying to Thermo Fisher for the position of application scientist, and I heard that position gets promoted to a product manager. And lo and behold, one of the alumni from the program is a product manager at Thermo Fisher Scientific. And I found her at the Alumni Happy Hour, and so we just got chatting about what's it like, how did you get there? What are they looking for? How do you enjoy your job? What are the responsibilities that you have? And it was a really cool connection to have, on top of the open food and drinks. But
free beers.
Okay, are there any more questions? Everyone's cool?
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for asking such great questions. We're going to be here for a little while longer. We have some refreshments out in the lobby again, and Justin and Portia and Yakshu will be here a little bit, as will the rest of the staff to answer any questions. And thank you again. I look forward to speaking with you some more.